Oh, I love this show. Huh? Oh. Yeah, hi, this is Saddam Hussein.
Howdy there, big guy.
Who's this, Bush?
How's it hanging?
I'm fine, yeah. I'm just, having a snack.
What you got going?
Some dates.
You're on date?
No, dates. It's a fruit. I don't think you have them there.
Super.
They're like, plums. They're like, big raisins.
Right on. Right. So listen, Saddam. I was thinking we should have a chat about all this big bad war talk. You know, away from all the cameras and all that nonsense.
Yeah, I'm watching it on TV right now. Are you serious about this?
Yeah.
Oh. Why?
Listen, Saddam, as Aladdin once said, we got a whole new world here after September 9/11. And
what's that got to do with me?
well, I gotta tell you, there's folks that's telling us that you helped us to plan the attackers.
Who?
Well, we got some intelligentsia. It shows you were working with them. You some have been, you know.
Oh, yeah? Who says that?
We have evidentiary, sources, testimonials, things, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I asked who.
Listen, it's not just even about 9/11. We got intel here showing you possess weapons, and their weapons are made for fighting.
What weapons?
Weapons of WFD.
We can use compounds from plants to make medicine or poison for use in new weapons and equipment. Take a look at the plants list on your iDroid to see which ones we need. Then go find them if you get the chance. It'll keep the staff happy too.
Hey, hold on. Okay? Your dad and Rumsfeld.
You arrived at the objective.
Together.
Your target should be somewhere in that outpost. Don't forget, he has a Spetsnaz recon detail with him. Keep your guard up.
Well, yeah, except his buddies told me to borrow a bunch of money.
Right? That's what they do.
So I try and, jump on some assets in Kuwait, and he freaks out.
Well,
so
come on.
I don't know what that was about.
Is that him?
You know what?
Take a good look at their faces so we can ID the targets.
Here's the thing, though, Saddam. My daddy's not running this thing. I am. I'm giving you one chance here to hand over your weapons.
What? Weapons? There are no weapons. Ask your dad.
All right, cool your jets.
I don't have any jets either.
We're just asking you to cooperate with the cooperation.
Fine. I'm happy to cooperate. Send inspectors. Make yourself at home.
Oh, was this a little bit of reverse psychiatry?
Reverse what?
Rabbit season. Look, you're misgentrifying the international community. And I'm telling you, we're going to have to go in there.
So now we're not even doing inspectors. What happened to the inspectors?
No, we will. But if they don't find anything, we're going to go and inspect with, explosions.
What is your problem?
We got to...
Put your dad on.
No, I'm not putting Dad on.
No. You listen to me, hee-haw. Put your dad on. Put him on right now.
My dad is not here. He's at work.
Put your father on the phone.
Fuck you, talk soon.
Kusei, get up on the roof and adjust Daddy's satellite dish. I'm getting nothing here. Okay.
Speak about this sunshine. Speak about this sunshine. Speak about this sunshine.
Welcome to Blowback, a podcast about the Iraq War. I'm Brendan James.
And I'm Noah Colwyn.
And this is our free giveaway episode, a treat, a sampler, a taster.
Think of it as a podcast hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah, a prologue. Some of you may know me from my old podcast, a comedy left-wing politics
The Slate
show.
Political Gabfest.
This Snark Revolution. I'm very proud of the work I did on that show. And Noah.
And I'm an editor at The Outline, and I've covered technology and politics for Vice News, Recode, New York Magazine, and a whole bunch of
You're lying media. You're part of like the establishment. You're part
Absolutely.
of the swamp. But this is our show about the Iraq War. The full show that we're going to be doing is on Stitcher Premium. It's out as you're listening to this. And you can get a free month of Stitcher Premium if you go to StitcherPremium.com and sign up with the code BLOWBACK, one word. And that'll let you listen to the entire show from this point forward as it comes out week after week. In June, the whole thing will be available publicly. But in the meantime, go to StitcherPremium.com, promo code BLOWBACK if you want to listen right away.
So we're doing a show about the Iraq War. Why?
I think Well, this was your idea.
So you're blaming me already.
I think it's a
So
skeleton.
you're surprised. Be as loud as any other now. If you have to shoot, be careful.
Like we want to do about the Iraq War. And I was like, you know, what is there to say? Everyone basically knows now it was bad. WMD, it wasn't there, they lied, etc., etc. But then I started noticing George W. Bush hanging out with Michelle Obama and Ellen. And I saw an article including Dick Cheney and John McCain and the hashtag resistance. And I saw people, liberals, supposed lefties, approving of coups in Venezuela and Bolivia last year. And I thought, okay, there is something that's worth retelling the story of the Iraq War. Because what's really happened, what explains all that, is that we, Americans, have shoved the Iraq War, this century-defining war crime, down the memory hole.
I mean, the Obama years and the Trump administration have put so much distance in American minds between what happened then and what's happening now.
I mean, Obama initiated a horrifying new bombing campaign in Iraq in 2014, the guy who ended the Iraq War, quote-unquote.
Today I authorize 2 operations in Iraq.
Trump just assassinated an Iranian general inside of Iraq, which is part of the proxy war that's been going on since we began in 2003.
President Trump has not spoken to
You gotta extract him.
He did tweet this image of an American flag shortly after the attack.
The Syrian civil war that most guilty liberals pretend to barely know about is partially one big spin-off of the Iraq War.
How it was possible for this group ISIS to sort of sweep in to western Iraq.
I'm looking at a poll here. It says that 51% of Americans say that they opposed the Iraq War back when it was launched in 2003. But a Pew poll conducted at the time in 2003, right before we went.
Target confirmed dead. Impressive work, boss.
Only 23%. So, not only is there a sort of cultural amnesia, a political amnesia, but there's an actual, like, among regular people, there's an actual amnesia about whether or not they supported it, whether or not they opposed it. So that's a disturbing trend. And so many of the ghouls and goblins who made this thing happen. We killed 6 in Iraq. You know, I don't know if people know the figure. I don't know if people know that we designed a forced labor system in Fallujah. I don't know if people know that we used white phosphorus on Iraqis, still cause birth defects to this day. This is the kind of stuff that I realize, sure, that could use a retelling.
Did you believe ever that Saddam Hussein, when you had to cast that vote to authorize the war in Iraq, did you ever believe that Saddam Hussein had nuclear weapons?
Well, Chris, I'm just telling you that that was the prevailing opinion.
People have been able to sort of do some sort of jujitsu to explain that it was really the moment. You kind of had to be there. You know, it was really just, there was a lot of, you know, ifs, ands, or buts, what have yous. And I think it's about time that we sort of
Destroyed their anti-air radar?
Which, no.
It wasn't one of the targets, but that's put a hole in their air surveillance. The chopper will be able to get in close now. You can designate a landing zone near the outpost.
Because we want to do it with some fun. We want it to be entertaining. There's going to be sidebars. There's going to be gags. Obviously, if you heard the opening sketch to this episode, we're going to mix the lowbrow and the highbrow, the funny and absurd with the disgusting and the enraging, and hopefully that captures the full nature of this nightmare that we unleashed.
Every journey begins in the mind.
All right. I want to take this out. These are Iraqi dinars from a long time ago. This was given to me by at a show last year.
Oh, wow.
They got Saddam's face on them, and he's looking good. He's probably, like, you know, in his prime here. They're very beautiful. This is Central Bank of Iraq, 250 dinars. And if you follow the news, you might know that there are a bunch of MAGA people who think that the Iraqi dinar will at some point be worth millions of dollars once President Trump revalues the currency. One thing I think they don't realize there is that revaluing a currency involves printing new bills, and the old money is not submissible. So if you've stocked up on dinars like that and you try to cash them in for like $1 billion, they're not going to be.
Development project has been added.
Mission complete, boss. you feeling, boss? Getting used to being in the field again? Having choppers and horse at your disposal is indispensable for operating in the wilds of Afghanistan. I've gone ahead and arranged for you to be able to develop and customize weaponry for support choppers. And you can also develop new equipment for D-Horse if you like. Use your iDroid to start development as needed.
Side ops list
The
updated.
side ops list is comprised of problems we need you to resolve, objectives to be completed, and information gained from the soldiers and prisoners you've extracted. These aren't missions per se, but if you can take care of them when you're free, I'd appreciate it.
Please specify a project. Please select a landing zone. Heading to Mother Base.
Good to see you, boss.
Please specify a project.
Let us know if you need supplies, boss.
Please select a drop. Please specify a project. Please specify a project. Please select landing zone.
Roger.
Confirmed.
This is B-Quad. Arriving shortly at LZ. This is B-Quad. On station at LZ. Gaining altitude.
Please select a landing zone. Heading to Afghanistan.
This is no time to be playing with animals. What are you gonna do, boss? Roger that. We'll pick him up.
Marker placed.
That's the target. We found out there's an English-speaking soldier somewhere in the region. He's a language specialist. His role is to translate information related to the West into Russian. If we can get him to join us, we'll have the upper hand in information warfare. Find this language specialist and extract him.
Часто вижу, у тебя свет допоздна.
Я даже думаю по-английски. Правда? Научи меня каким-нибудь клевым выражением. На случай, если я вдруг встречу американца.
Хорошо, повторяй за мной.
I...
Контакт! Открыть огонь! Дайте защитника!
He's coming too. Roger that.
Side ops list updated. Extraction arrived at Mother Base. Unit function added.
Boss, that language specialist you extracted has been very cooperative. Says he's always dreamed of living a free life, like folks in the West. What are the odds, huh? I've gone ahead and placed him in the support unit. His job is Russian interpretation. Now you'll know what Soviet soldiers are saying. You can even interrogate them. Should give you an edge in the mission.
Please select a landing zone. Marker placed. Marker removed. Marker placed. Please select a support helicopter
Roger.
requested. Extraction arrived at Mother Base.
Say, boss, you see many animals in the field. Truth is, an environmental NGO has asked us to remove wild animals from combat zones. If you have the time, can you extract some back here? There's a reward in it for us. long time in the field is bad for the body and mind. I think it's time you took a break. Do it for me. Come back to Mother Base ASAP.
Come back!
Mitch. Here's the dog you brought back. Bit of a troublemaker. Not sure about the breed, though. He'll get bigger? Uh-huh. Like this. You know, I can look after him. He's still a pup, so he doesn't listen. I have a feeling someday he'll be useful. I suspect you discovered a real diamond in the rough. With a little polish, I'd say we got a true diamond dog on our hands. DD, right? Hostile at raising hounds. Come on, Dee Dee.
Please select landing zone.
Roger.
This is B-Quad. Arriving shortly at LZ. This is B-Quad. On station at LZ.
ops list updated.
Ocelot. I hear they started calling you Shalashaska in Afghanistan. What's that about?
You know the term Sharashka? It's slang for a suspicious, hastily thrown together organization. The word became associated with a type of forced labor facility in the Soviet Gulag system. OKB scientists and engineers who'd been convicted of crimes were sent to a Sharashka for forced R&D. The Sharashkas were supervised by Lavrenti Beria of the NKVD, the secret police, under the official name 4th Special Department.
Forced research? That's not very different from what we do here.
Diamond Dogs is different. Everyone here believes in you. Regardless of where they came from or why they're here, they revere you. And they're fighting because it was their choice.
And if it wasn't, they'd leave?
Who knows? That's our reality here, whether it's real or not. If there's another truth, I don't want to know it. All that matters is that's the concept that's taken shape in their heads. The traces of a group ideology, our superstructure, to put it in Marxist terms.
All right. Go on.
Right. So anyway, at some point the enemy started calling me Sharashka. This was after the war in Afghanistan broke out. While I was keeping an eye on you in that hospital, I was also heading up interrogations here. The men I broke gave up their comrades and families, everything they wanted to protect them most. No real cause for it. I just let myself get caught up in the old Russian pride. And suddenly I received the honor of becoming Special Interrogation Advisor to the forced labor camps. But the more men I interrogated, the more people saw me as just that, the interrogator. It helped cover my real objective of keeping you safe.
You went that far for me?
Far enough to keep you alive. I ended up being pretty well known among the Afghan guerrillas. Some of them would have seen me on the battlefield, and that's how I got the second half of the name. Shashka. It's a sword, a type of saber from the Caucasus. Russian dragoons and Cossacks carry them into battle. Now, the Russian Empire had a general by the name of Fyodor Arturovich Keller. His bravery earned him the nickname Russia's Greatest Shashka. Someone must have known about that, because somewhere along the line, Shashka got stuck on the end of Sharashka. The guerrillas were using the name amongst themselves, and by the time I got to hearing about it, pronunciation had wound up as Shalashashka.
So, half Gulag, half hero sword. Is a perfect fit.
But you see how rumors and ideas about people can get out of hand fast. Once you create a character and put it out there in public mind, it warps and twists with every baseless rumor. And before you know it, all people see are phantoms. In my case, it works out just fine. I'm plenty used to working under aliases.
So SALT II still hasn't gone into effect.
That treaty was drawn up to limit not just the size of the U.S. and Soviet Union's nuclear arsenals, but also their delivery systems. The whole deal. Just when we thought all those years of negotiations had paid off, somebody decides to invade Afghanistan. The timing couldn't have been worse.
The president was in the middle of the SALT II talks back then.
You mean while you were busy trying to stop Peace Walker? I heard. President Ford was meeting with the General Secretary in Vladivostok. In his absence, the political brass in America detected what they didn't realize was false nuclear launch data from Peace Walker, and were on the verge of ordering a retaliatory nuclear strike.
Coleman's big idea? Humans are incapable of destroying themselves. Turns out he never knew what humans are capable of.
If that AI, the boss, hadn't found a way to stop the fake data transmission, they probably would have gone ahead with the launch.
Deterrence was revealed as the pipe dream it was.
All thanks to you. And her. The U.S.-Soviet talks looked set to fall through. What happened in Nicaragua no doubt helped trigger a change of heart. But in the end...
The time's to find the politics. When you've grabbed their tail, they turn and bite your hand.
I first met you 20 years ago now. The place was Selenouyarsk in the Soviet Union. We were enemies.
I was with the GRU. You were still fighting for America. 1964. Operation Snake Eater. Its objective? The assassination of the legendary soldier known as the Boss. When you returned home successful, they awarded you the title Big Boss. Your CO, Zero, sought to carry on the boss's will by covertly establishing his own organization. You knew the original members from Operation Snake Eater. From America, there was David O, or as he was to you, Major Zero. Donald Anderson, aka Sigint, Dr. Clark, who went by paramedic during the operation, and the fourth, you. From China, there was Eva, and me, Ocelot, from the Soviet Union. 6 in total. To us, government notions of friend and foe were meaningless. As were East and West, we joined forces by our will alone. Our objective was to fulfill the boss's dying wish, to make the world one. And to do it, Zero used the Philosopher's Legacy, the secret war fund you obtained during Operation Snake Eater. This organization would go on to become Cypher. I, on the other hand, was left with the problem. You only recovered half of the legacy. I had to locate the other half myself. When I found the funds, I passed them on to Zero, just as you wanted. I still trusted him in those days.
We thought what he was doing was the boss's will, until he started that one project.
Les enfants terribles, Zero called it.
You parted ways, as did Eva, leaving only Anderson and Clark still with him. I maintained limited contact, although truth be told, we were just keeping tabs on one another. The reason was always you. After you returned to the Army and created Foxhound, you left America. For a time, even I'd lost track of you. I'd imagine Zero did too. You always were the best when it came to hide and seek. Zero created Cypher, an information network to tap into every corner of the globe. Woven together, Cypher's arteries make the world just one big organism. And that's not all. It also monitors the thorn in Zero's side. That's you, tracking your coordinates wherever you might go. The further you strayed from your roots, the larger Zero became. It's as if he was trying to close the gap between you. But before long, he disappeared from public life. Only a few people had direct contact with him. For a time, I was one of them. Then a year after you fell into your coma, he slipped out of sight entirely. Since then, nothing. No photos, no recordings, not even a reliable rumor as to his whereabouts. I tried every method I could think of, but Zero was gone. Freed of his control, his creation, his power continued to grow. Cypher is a great beast, and Zero was its spine. But even without him, it's endured, evolved. But now its body is rotting, riddled with parasites. Parasites like the ones who attacked you 9 years ago in the Caribbean, and then at the hospital. Cypher's Black Ops Unit, XOF. They learned where you were, and came to wipe the slate clean.
Please select a landing zone. Mission not accepted. Please select a landing zone. Heading to Afghanistan. Please select a landing zone. Heading to Afghanistan. Deploying.
It's a type of medicinal plant. We can use that to make tranquilizer rounds more potent.
Marker placed.
Soviet troops on the ground want to go home, but at least they have homes to go back to. The Afghans have lost theirs. The Soviets destroy the kishlaks, villages, wherever they can. They burn down homes and fields, fill in wells, turn pastures into minefields. refugees who fled to Pakistan. If the Mujahideen are fish swimming around the villages, the Soviets will go so far as to dry out their ocean. But this has had a big price. There's bitter resentment among the Afghans, and they're taking out their anger on the soldiers on the front line.
Boss, get down. The enemy's sniper. Stay low and crawl along the ground. That should enable you to sneak past enemies.
Soviets they've captured have had their hands, feet, and noses cut off before being left to die at the side of the road, just to show their comrades what they're capable of. Friendlies who come across them can do nothing but put them out of their misery. Then they burn down another village in retaliation, and the cycle of vengeance goes on.
Kaz, what about the unit that attacked us in the mist? You knew something about them.
That wasn't my first run-in with them. It happened right before I was captured by the Soviets. We were on the zero line that day, the Afghan side, on our way back from training the Mujahideen at a mountain camp in KANE province. There's a lot of that work in Afghanistan. Most PFs shy away from it because it draws too much attention. But for us, that was the whole point. The job itself went great. We just had to make it back to a tribal area in Pakistan. Then visibility got real bad.
Boss, what happened? Boss!
Kaz, what about the unit that attacked us in the mist? You knew something about them.
That wasn't my first run-in with them. It happened right before I was captured by the Soviets. We were on the zero line that day, the Afghan side, on our way back from training the Mujahideen at a mountain camp in KANE province. There's a lot of that work in Afghanistan. Most PFs shy away from it because it draws too much attention. But for us, that was the whole point. The job itself went great. We just had to make it back to a tribal area in Pakistan. But all of a sudden, visibility got real bad. It was no sandstorm. Our point man gave this strange report. He said he could see skulls in the mist.
Skulls?
The next moment, he went silent. We scrambled into formation, right before his arms and legs came raining down on us. It was always supposed to be a dangerous mission, so I had Diamond Dog's very best with me. We were calling out to each other. One by one, the voices just went dead. Whatever happened to me, I lost consciousness before I knew it. When I came to, I was in a Soviet camp, tied to an interrogation chair.
Could they be some new Spetsnaz unit?
No. The ones that interrogated me were just the average rank and file. Whatever group attacked us, the way they moved was just insane. And that mist, appearing out of nowhere. The Soviets don't have tech like that.
If they did, Ocelot would have heard about it.
I doubt the West does either. Otherwise, the folks at Langley would be sleeping a lot easier.
Why'd they come after you?
Wish I knew. I'm the only one who survived. Though I don't think they planned it that way.
That's the target.
I was their target. They wouldn't have just handed me over to the 40th Army. Whatever the case, we need to watch our step until we know who they really are. And boss, if you ever do run into them again, don't try to take them on. You just get the hell out of there. When I first started dealing with Zero, with Cypher, it was a somewhat parasitic relationship. Though, a mutually beneficial one. Cypher had no army of their own, so they wanted us. They wanted our strength. They approached me as a potential business partner.
But they had other motives.
Cypher coaxed us into Central America, into that U.S.-Soviet proxy war, to fuel Mother Base's growth. Once we were big enough, they'd force us to join them. That was the plan.
That's why they had Paz, still Zeke.
Right. And if we refused, she would use Zeke to fire a nuke from Mother Base. The world would consider us a liability, and countries would unite to destroy us.
We stopped the launch.
And yet they still took us down, through that
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. that power Cypher wanted. We don't have it anymore. So why are they still after you? Is it just the fear of leaving you alive?
I don't know. Was Zero really... All I know is the man I knew wouldn't want this.
What do you mean?
We have to consider that it might not be Zero we're dealing with.
We know virtually nothing about Cypher anymore. How big they've gotten, what they want, or even who they really are. The new mother base started out as a test drilling rig operated by a mineral resources supplier, but their project fell through. The Seychelles government was happy to hand the place over to us. It was just scrap on stilts. So with a few dummy construction companies set up as fronts, we started renovating the half-finished rig. From the outside, it looked like the project was back on rails.
Kaz, you...
What?
I see what you're doing. Recreating the mother base we had 9 years ago. Only this time.
That's right. The mother base Cypher thought they destroyed will return from the grave to kill them. We'll prove to the world that we were the victors.
And if we lose again?
They can't fool us the same way twice. Now our enemies are in plain sight. And when our organization gets... We split it across companies. Any company that draws attention gets liquidated, and its capital is back-channeled into a new company. Most PFs are small-time operations anyway. And in this business, the minnows go bankrupt all the time. We've never aroused suspicion. Plus, we have Hewick.
Hewick?
Human Exploitation Company. It's a business specializing in intel gathering. Think of it as a civilian intelligence agency.
Kaz, that's...
Remember what they were trying to accomplish at the prison facility in Cuba? That gave me the idea. We dispatch moles into conflict zones around the world, and each sets up an intel network on site. Then they stay in place to give us stable points of contact when other nations intervene in the conflicts. Hewick's strength is that it has a cutout at each level. You get your job from one guy, then you hand it off to another. No one has access. It's a perfect black box. Hewick members also work their way into the superpowers intelligence agencies to make sure Diamond Dogs gets work. We have those countries by the balls. That's our deterrent when we need it.
Networking. In the intelligence community?
Sure, that's how we've grown this far. And when you go out on missions, intel from Hewick will be there to back you up. But despite all that, Cypher has its eyes on us. The only reason I'm not dead is that they needed to know where you were. Figured if you woke up, I'd go straight to you.
That's why you made that ruckus at the Zero line.
Yeah, to make their own surveillance work against them. I think it took some of the heat off Cyprus.
Kaz.
Then I just had to wait for you to save me. And I've gotten used to waiting.
Kaz.
That's not all. It was a good chance to scout the market. And with the West wanting the Soviets out of Afghanistan, their agencies are bursting at the seams with funding. Boss, let's start by building up our Afghan presence.
Why put Mother Base in the Seychelles?
We're at the center of the world here.
We're all the way out in the Indian Ocean.
Come on. Lebanon, Sri Lanka, East Timor, and Africa. From here, our reach extends to conflict zones the world over, including Afghanistan, of course.
So it's prime real estate for a mercenary.
Exactly. Latin America isn't as close as I want. But we have Amanda and her people to help in that department. And besides, the Seychelles government owes us a favor.
Owes us?
The Seychelles has strong ties to the east, which the West wanted to shake up. It came to a head 3 years ago in an attempted coup. It was a force of South African mercenaries with U.S. backing behind the scenes. They were only platoon size, but South Africa is home to some heavy PFs. Too much for the Seychelles to handle. In the end, they accepted help from the Tanzanian army and quelled the coup. We set up the deal and handled on-site tactical instruction. That led to some training work for the Seychelles military. And when we put down a mutiny within their forces, well, we made a lot of people happy. They don't pay us. They just let us have a piece of their offshore territory on the promise we'll come running if something else happens.
So we're bodyguards, too.
It's a good setup. We can only take Mother Base so far here. We'll have to find somewhere else when this place starts getting big.
Aren't you being a little hasty?
Nothing hasty about it. You're back with us now.
So, Kaz, the ship that took us from Cyprus, it used to be a whaler.
Yeah, a Japanese vessel. How was the voyage?
It was... stimulating. part of a whaling fleet up until a few years ago. Her displacement isn't anything to write home about, but she can really move. She still had plenty of life left in her, but then the work dried up. Global opposition to whaling has been mounting for years.
Is that right?
The push to ban it has been gaining traction for a little over a decade. Individual species came under protection as the years went on. And then 2 years ago, the IWC adopted a moratorium on commercial whaling. Several countries, including Japan, fought it to the bitter end. But eventually, most whaling companies had no choice but to throw in the towel. You ever tried whale snake?
Can't say that I have.
When I was a kid in Japan, practically everybody ate it.
That good, huh?
The country was poor in those days, and whale was cheap. International opinions changed since then. In any case, that's why we were able to get a bargain price on the ship. Of course, we did end up spending 5 times the purchase price in modifications. We had to really work to fit in all the ESM and communications gear while keeping the whaler look intact. Right now, she's going around conducting SIGINT missions. In the future, we plan to use her as a communications relay base between you and Mother Base, and also as a chopper resupply vessel. Diamond dogs. The word diamond originally comes from the Greek adamas. It means indomitable, unyielding. Other words for the stones often mean eternal bond, fortitude, or purity.
That crack would make a good foothold. You can use crack climbing to make your way up.
They represent innocence, as well as chastity, yielding to no man while maintaining one's virtue. In other words, staying loyal to something.
Please select a landing zone.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us. Okay. Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Marker placed. Marker removed.
Okay, subject is in.
Please select a drop point. Supplies requested. Supply drop complete.
Kaz, what?
Okay, subject is in. Okay, subject is in. Boss, that's a serious injury.
Quit kidding around. Snake? Snake!
That's the target.
You have arrived at your destination.
Subject on board. Okay, subject is in.
Please select a drop point. Supplies requested.
Okay, subject is in.
Cause. Diamond docks.
Supply drop
The
complete.
word diamond originally comes from the Greek adamas. It means indomitable, unyielding. Other words for the stones often mean eternal bond, fortitude, or purity. The same is true of the Star of Beth.
Shit. Right. Oh, I love this show. Huh? Yeah, hi, this is Saddam Hussein.
Howdy there, big guy.
Who's this, Bush?
How's it hanging?
I'm fine, yeah. I'm just, having a snack.
What you got going?
Some dates.
You're on date?
No, dates. It's a fruit. I don't think you have them there.
Super.
They're like, plums. They're like, big raisins.
Right on. Right. So listen, Saddam. I was thinking we should have a chat about all this big bad war talk. You know, away from all the cameras and all that nonsense.
Yeah, I'm watching it on TV right now.
Subject on board.
Yeah.
Okay.
What? Listen, Saddam. The last one said we got a whole new one.
Okay, subject is in.
What's that got to do with me?
Well, I gotta tell you, there's folks that's telling us that you helped us to plan those attackers.
Who?
Well, we got some intelligentsia that shows you were working with them. You some have been, you know.
Oh, yeah? Who says that?
We have evidentiary, sources, testimonials, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I asked who.
Listen, it's not just even about 9/11. We got intel here showing you possess weapons, and weapons are made for fighting.
What weapons?
Weapons of WMD.
Look, let me tell you something. I'm not sure if you know this. Your dad and I, we used to work together.
I don't need...
Just hold on. Back in the 80s, he and I were working on this project I started. The Iran-Iraq War. You ever heard of that?
That's not what the
Hey,
album...
hold on. Okay? Your dad and Rumsfeld, we did some great stuff together.
Right, good.
He invited me to his, ranch.
I love that ranch dressing. My dad's a great guy. No question there.
Well, yeah, except his buddies told me to borrow a bunch of money.
Right? That's what they do.
So I try and, jump on some assets in Kuwait, and he freaks out.
Well,
so
come on.
I don't know what that was about. But you know what? It's forgotten, okay? I don't even care now.
Here's the thing, though, Saddam. My daddy's not running this thing. I am. I'm giving you one chance here to hand over your weapons.
What weapons? There are no weapons. Ask your dad.
All right, cool your jets.
I don't have any jets either.
We're just asking you to cooperate with the cooperation.
Fine. I'm happy to cooperate. Send inspectors. Make yourself at home.
Oh, was this a little bit of reverse psychiatry?
Reverse what?
Rabbit season, rabbit season. Look, you're misgentrifying the international community. And I'm telling you, we're going to have to go in there.
So now we're not even doing inspectors. What happened to the inspectors?
No, we will. But if they don't find anything, we're going to go and inspect with, explosions.
What is your problem?
We got to...
Put your dad on.
No, I'm not putting Dad on.
No. You listen to me, hee-haw. Put your dad on. Put him on right now.
My dad is not here. He's at work.
Put your father on the phone.
Fuck you, talk soon. Hussein, get up on the roof and adjust Daddy's satellite dish. I'm getting nothing here. Fuck me.
Welcome to Blowback, a podcast about the Iraq War. I'm Brendan James.
And I'm Noah Coleman.
And this is our free giveaway episode with the treat, a sampler, a taster.
Think of it as a podcast hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah, a prologue. Some of you may know me from my old podcast, comedy, left-wing politics.
The Slate Political Gabfest.
This Snark Revolution. Very proud of the work I did on that show. And Noah.
And I'm an editor at The Outline.
Crack would make a good foothold. You can use crack climbing to make your way up.
You're lying media. You're part of like the establishment.
Absolutely.
But this is our show about the Iraq War. The full show that we're going to be doing is on Stitcher Premium. It's out as you're listening to this. And you can get a free month of Stitcher Premium if you go to stitcherpremium.com and sign up with the code BLOWBACK, one word. And that'll let you listen to the entire show from this point forward as it comes out week after week. In June, the whole thing will be available publicly. But in the meantime, go to stitcherpremium.com, promo code BLOWBACK if you want to listen right away.
So we're doing a show about the Iraq War. Why?
I think, well, this was your idea.
So you're blaming me already.
I think it's a skeleton key for understanding where we are now. First you said to me, hey, no one's really done a show, or at least one like we want to do, about the Iraq War. And I was like, what is there to say? Everyone basically knows now it was bad. WMD, it wasn't there, they lied, et cetera, et cetera. But then I started noticing George W. Bush hanging out with Michelle Obama and Ellen. And I saw an article including Dick Cheney and John McCain, the hashtag resistance. And I saw people, liberals, supposed lefties, approving of coups in Venezuela and Bolivia last year. And then I thought, okay, there is something here. It's worth retelling the story of the Iraq War. Because what's really happened, what explains all that, is that we, Americans, have shoved the Iraq War, this century-defining war crime, down the memory hole.
I mean, the Obama years and the Trump administration have put so much distance in American minds between what happened then and what's happening now.
I mean, Obama initiated a horrifying new bombing campaign in Iraq in 2014, the guy who ended the Iraq War, quote-unquote.
Today I authorized 2 operations in Iraq.
Trump just assassinated an Iranian general inside of Iraq, which is part of the proxy war that's been going on since we invaded in 2003.
President Trump has not spoken directly about the killing, but he did tweet this image of an American flag shortly after the attack.
The Syrian civil war that most guilty liberals pretend to care or know about is partially one big spin-off of the Iraq War.
How it was possible for this group ISIS to sort of sweep in to western Iraq.
I'm looking at a poll here. It says that 51% of Americans now say that they opposed the Iraq War back when it was launched in 2003. But a Pew poll conducted at the time in 2003, right before we went in, showed that 72% of Americans actually supported the war. Only 23% were opposed. So not only is there a sort of cultural amnesia, a political amnesia about what happened. Among regular people, there's an actual amnesia about whether or not they supported it, whether or not they opposed it. So that's an issue.
All right, we'll bring him out.
This thing happened. We killed 600,000 people in Iraq. I don't know if people know the figure. I don't know if people know that we designed a forced labor system in Fallujah. I don't know if people know that we used white phosphorus on Iraqis, still cause birth defects to this day. This is the kind of stuff that I realized, sure, that could use a retelling.
Did you believe ever that Saddam Hussein, when you had to cast that vote to authorize the war in Iraq, did you ever that Saddam Hussein had nuclear weapons?
Well, Chris, I'm just telling you, that was the prevailing opinion.
People have been able to sort of do some sort of jujitsu to explain that it was really the moment. You kind of had to be there. It was really just, there was a lot of, ifs, ands, or buts, a lot of what have yous. And I think it's about time that we sort of go back and examine the ways in which, no, they did have a choice. They chose wrong.
So, strap in. Join us. Be with us as we go down this horrifying journey into the past. Because we want to do it with some fun. We want it to be entertaining. There's going to be sci-fires. There's going to be gags. Obviously, if you heard the opening sketch to this episode, we're going to mix the lowbrow, the funny and absurd with the disgusting, the enraging, and hopefully that captures the full nature of this nightmare that we unleashed.
Every journey begins in the mind.
He's coming too. Roger that.
I want to take this out. These are Iraqi dinars from a long time ago. This was given to me by at a show last year.
Oh wow.
They got Saddam's face on him, and he's looking good. He's probably in his prime here. They're very beautiful. The Central Bank of Iraq, 250 dinars. And if you follow the news, you might know that there are a bunch of MAGA people who think that the Iraqi dinar will at some point be worth millions of dollars once President Trump revalues the currency. One thing I think they don't realize there is that revaluing the currency involves printing new bills, and the old money is not submissible. So if you've stocked up on dinars like that and try to cash them in for like $1 billion, they're not going to be valid. But we have two right here.
You're telling me that like MAGA people don't necessarily understand
They haven't thought it. They haven't thought it. But if in case they're right, we here have I have a $250 note that matched you that.
We're rich, yeah. We're rich guys.
Yeah.
I mean, so when this was made, I mean, Saddam he's wearing a suit, he has a full head of hair.
Yeah.
I mean,
he never lost his full head of hair.
No, that's true. In fact, it actually only grown when he was captured. Before we invaded, what was Iraq like?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into a lot of this stuff in the show, but people have this idea, of course, of there's a dictatorship under Saddam. There's the Ba'ath Party, which was an authoritarian, Arab nationalist party. That's true. It's basically true. It was a dictatorship. Saddam consolidated power at the end of the 70s. He was already kind of the real heavy, but he made it formal. And then throughout the 80s, he became the face of Iraq's political dictatorship.
But Iraqi society and culture and was more than Saddam. It wasn't like it was.
Iraq was one of the most progressive and most developed, if not the most, at that point, at that moment in time, in the 70s and the 80s. It was the most developed and progressive Arab country in the Middle East.
I mean, there were trade-offs. Like, we don't, as we just said, we don't want to minimize the fact that Saddam was a cruel dictator who did awful things, particularly to ethnic minorities in Iraq.
Yes, the party was brutal to those it did not like or did not want to like. On the other side of things, Iraq had one of the best healthcare systems in the region, best education systems, women's rights, etc. It wasn't some rinky-dink third world failed state or whatever. It became that once we got involved, or got more involved in the 90s, which made it very easy in 2003 to say, look at this place, we got to renovate, by going towards but yeah, Saddam, it was a very tightly run ship under his regime. He did run for president again a couple times, quote-unquote ran for president. And he did that in 2002, a year before the war. And do you know the campaign theme of the song that he used for the campaign? No one else, just I do. Tell me if you can remember that too.
Development project has been added. specify a project. Please specify a project. Please specify a project. Please specify a project. Please select a landing zone. Mission not accepted. Please select a landing zone. Deploying.
Boss, as requested, we've added an analyzer function to your binoculars. Now you can view soldiers or POWs and get a readout on their rank or any special skills they might have. Depending on their skills, they may even be able to develop new types of weapons or items. Try it out the next time you're thinking of full-length settlement.
The voice you hear is Richard Nixon in the Oval Office in 1971, giving advice to a strapping young bureaucrat, a former college wrestler named Don Rumsfeld. Dispensing career tips was Nixon's favorite thing, and in this case he was brainstorming what part of the world young Rumsfeld could use to build his resume as a diplomat.
The worm also known as absinthium. That's used to make your phantom cigars.
Analysis complete.
There's nothing you can do.
Analysis complete. Analysis complete.
And yet, 13 years later, Rumsfeld strode through the Republican palace in Baghdad to grip the hand of one Saddam Hussein. He was there both on his own and as a representative of the American government, his goal to offer U.S. support to Saddam for Saddam's war against Iran.
There's a lot of conversation around that he's a madman and crazy and so forth. I don't happen to believe he is at all. He's a strong man, he's an intelligent man. He has a totally different value set than those of us in the United States.
Iraqi cameras captured the meeting on video, and 20 years later, during the build-up to the Iraq War, the footage was played to Rumsfeld on CNN.
December 20th, 1983, you were meeting with Saddam Hussein. I think we had some video of that. Tell me what was going on during this
Where did you get this video?
A couple of days after he rewatched that video, Rumsfeld stood in the White House press room, cameras rolling again, as he laid out the case to invade Iraq and to topple his one-time partner and our one-time client, Saddam Hussein.
Every day, every week, every month that goes by.
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Fully developed, more mature. Every day that goes by gives them other opportunities to connect with terrorist networks.
How exactly did Rumsfeld get from his coffee with Nixon in 1971 to his consultation with Saddam in 1983 to his showdown with Saddam in 2003? That story is part of a much bigger one, namely, how and why did Saddam ever get to be a friend and ally of America, only for us to then nominate him as global supervillain? Did Saddam turn on us, or did we turn on Saddam? And what does all this reveal about why we really went to war in 2003? Because something tells you Rumsfeld knew the answer to that. When confronted with the footage of him meeting Saddam in the 80s, he didn't appear angry or irritated or ashamed. He simply said,
"Isn't that interesting? There I am.
Welcome to Blowback, a podcast about the Iraq War. I'm Brendan James.
And I'm Noah Colwyn.
And this is our first episode, episode 1, Rosebud. The show is going to come out weekly, dropping every Monday, but for those of you who don't want to wait, all 10 episodes of the main show are available right now in Stitcher Premium. You can get there by going to StitcherPremium.com and signing up with the code BLOWBACK, one word, which gets you a free month of Stitcher Premium. You're going to get ad-free listening, access to all the Stitcher shows that they've got, and access, of course, to all 10 episodes of Blowback. Plus, we've got bonus episodes coming in the pipeline, several of which are only ever going to be accessible through Stitcher Premium, so you'll get those as well. So if you want to listen to all of Blowback right now, or at any point over the next couple months, that's StitcherPremium.com, promo code Blowback. One more thing is that you might have noticed there's also an episode 0 that's in your feed. Give that a listen if you haven't already, because it's a prelude to the rest of the show. We talk about why we're doing this, and what we want to get out of it, what we want you to get out of it. And we introduce a lot of the characters that we'll be going on this perverse journey with. We get to know a little bit about Rumsfeld and Cheney, Condi Rice, Colin Powell, Paul Wolfowitz, and all these goblins and ghouls that will become very important for the story coming up. But once you have listened to that, this is the real first episode where we start our story. And it's called Rosebud, because before we even get to 9/11 and the Bush administration and the actual war in Iraq, we want to find and trace the origin, of America's perverse relationship with Iraq.
Right, and to appreciate the full horror and irony of what happened when we invaded Iraq in 2003, you have to go back a long, long ways to see where the story begins. And it's a story of British colonialism and Cold War politics and then the rise of Saddam.
Yeah, we're going to see this revolution happen in Iraq at the end of the 50s. And in that revolution, we're going to meet two very important characters, one being Saddam Hussein himself, the other being Ahmed Chalabi, the self-appointed arch nemesis of Saddam, who flees in the 1950s, his own country, promises someday to come back with an American army and install himself as ruler. All right, let's do it.
At the center of our world lies the Middle East, and at its very heart...
You destroyed their anti-air radar? It wasn't one of the targets, but that's put a hole in that air surveillance. The chopper will be able to get in close now. You can designate a landing zone near the outpost.
Are building a new life.
That gun will be as loud as any other now. If you have to shoot, be careful.
Yeah. In 1920, Winston Churchill shot off a letter complaining about an uprising in Iraq, which was currently under British dominion. This is what he wrote. I am strongly in favor of using poison gas
Analysis
against
complete.
uncivilized tribes. Gases which cause great inconvenience and would spread a lively terror. And the mustard gas on this occasion was not available, unfortunately, but the British did what they normally did and bombed the shit out of Iraqis, men, women, and children, until it was quiet again.
Ageless Iraq is no longer a remote, isolated country. Today, she is a main junction linking the East and West.
So in 1921, after this uprising, the British let the Iraqis have an election to install themselves a king. And it ended up being a guy named Faisal I.
What was the election that got Faisal?
Well, he ran as a single candidate, and he got 96% of the vote. So that's the thing with the
Enemy's giving up their search for you. But they're not giving the all clear just yet. Stay alert.
Everything first, you know, The Office, chemical attacks, divide and rule. They did it very deadpan.
Right.
You know, it's just kind of ironic, and the American approach is a lot more earnest, and Jim and Pam get married. Be a real democracy. You know, and the British are just like, fuck it. You have a king now. You voted him in 96%. This is the original series. This is the UK
BBC.
BBC Iraqi occupation. Now, a word about oil.
Welcome Iraq. Absent until man found oil deep below the unproductive land.
The British took over Iraq from the Ottomans right around the time that oil was becoming the uber commodity that we think of it as today. And Winston Churchill, when he wasn't writing letters saying that we should gas Iraqis, helped negotiate a sweetheart deal for the company that would eventually become BP. And it transitioned the British Navy from the still dominant coal to oil. And it was a secret deal. This was right before World War I, in a period called the Great Unrest, which was a nearly half-decade of intense labor action and strikes. Churchill was one of the guys in charge of putting down those strikes. So converting to oil was one of those technological innovations that, you know, we think of like automation today, that gave workers less leverage and less control over the production process.
And oil was also a key part of imperial politics at the time, right? Like,
well, this is sort of when that happened. So in the early 20th century, you have these cartels basically and carve up Iraq. And they're going to end up running it just as much as any government for a long time. And they create a consortium called the Iraq Petroleum Company, which, contrary to its name, gives precisely 0 shares to the nation of Iraq itself.
Sheep stuffed with rice and a host of other good things. But that's only the first of the good things that will come to Iraq, thanks to oil.
So after World War II, and in fact before that war was even wrapped up, America had already set its sights on the new enemy, the Soviet Union, which to American elites and military and captains of industry was a much bigger threat than the Nazis or fascism ever were. After that war, a now superpowered America began to take an interest in Iraq as well.
Well, so that was what America really cared about in the Middle East at that moment, was using Iraq as a bulwark.
Communism and socialism. What can we do about it?
Every part of the world was going to be a front. in our fight against the Red Menace, which is pretty rich because, say, for example, in the Middle East, in the late 50s, the Soviets proposed a moratorium on any meddling in the region. This included an embargo on weapons, pulling out all troops, closing all bases. And they offered this more than once. The Western powers...
Those are raw diamonds. Collecting them as assets will raise our GMP.
So by the end of the 50s, Iraq functions as an outpost of British imperialism, a front in America's Cold War, and a valuable holding of the national oil cartel.
How did this work out for people of Iraq?
Yeah, not good. Aside from a class of local collaborators with the British, Iraq was incredibly impoverished. Not that it was a poor country that was generating loads of wealth. It's just that all that was going to the American and British oil companies. Meanwhile, actual Iraqis lived in squalor. Their government didn't care about them. Infant mortality was 250 per thousand. There were no social services of any kind, and life was getting grimmer all the time. So maybe that's why, in July 1958, the Iraqis had decided enough was enough. It was time for a revolution, and the British-sponsored monarchy went down.
Without warning, revolution has swept away the young King Faisal of Iraq.
Explosive news from the Middle East. A military coup and mob revolt in Iraq. King Faisal.
Iraq becomes #1 danger spot.
People rose up all over the country, but the vanguard of this 1958 revolution was a free officer corps, a bunch of military nationalists, whose leader was a guy named...
Okay, subject is in.
Qassim was really imitating Nasser, the president of Egypt, who had done something similar in his country a couple years before. And Nasser is important here because he's the poster boy, the avatar of anti-colonial pan-Arab politics in the Middle East.
Oil-rich Iraq, so vital to the Baghdad Pact, is, temporarily at least, in anti-Western hands.
Meanwhile, back in America, President Ike Eisenhower and Vice President Richard Nixon...
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
...possible American military intervention to prevent any gains by the local Iraqi Communist Party. The Iraqi communists called for provisions of bread, withdrawal of all foreign troops, democratic freedoms, things like that. One U.S. diplomat on the ground in Iraq wrote that the communists had support because they, quote, had worked very hard and are extremely well organized.
Veteran Premier Nuri al-Said is deposed. He has fled, and the Republican rebels...
Okay, subject is in.
This guy, the Prime Minister, when the revolution finally came, he tried to flee. And he was shot in the street. And his body was rolled over by trucks until it was a fine pink mist. People just kept running him over until he was like pink mist.
Like with like a steamroller? Or just
no, it was like the Naked Gun with Ricardo Montalban.
My father went the same way.
So this understandably made the British and American governments pretty nervous.
Support helicopter.
Roger.
Friendly countries within the region. The basic fear was that revolutions like the one that had just happened in Iraq would continue to crop up and spread, and then unite under Nasser. Remember, Nasser was the first among equals, this anti-colonial movement that was happening in the Middle East. And that pretty soon, all of the friendly governments to Britain and America would be overthrown.
Only one thing is certain. The Kremlin is duplicate. Khrushchev is quick to see in Nasser the leader who could weld the Arab world into anti-Western unity.
Now, it's in this moment that we meet two characters of our story, sort of the Batman and Joker, who were found on opposite ends of this revolution.
But at least it took that helmet with it.
Saddam Hussein was 21 in 1958, the year of the revolution, and he had grown up in the country, in the middle of Iraq. He was a country boy near the city of Tikrit. And it was a lot like the country anyway. A lot of people carried guns wherever they went, and local loyalties and connections counted for a lot. And a year before the revolution, Saddam had joined a political movement, the Ba'ath Party. And let's pause here and talk about what the Ba'ath was, because it's going to be story. The Ba'ath Party was in a couple countries in the Middle East. They'd eventually split off and had rivalries. And their ideology was just kind of a hodgepodge, you know? It was a little bit nationalism, pan-Arabism, a little bit socialism. That's not to say communism, because if the Ba'ath was one thing, it was anti-communism.
That was the glue that held them together and ultimately formed the base of their support from abroad and internally, was the fact that they were the most effective anti-communists.
I killed communists
green card. I'm gonna carve him up real nice.
And they weren't really ever a popular party.
And they didn't claim to be a popular party.
Yeah, its message was that of Renaissance for the Arab world, and it would have cells that would come out of Ba'ath parties.
Right, and this included military officers and people from the professional and upper classes, but it was not a mass movement.
Yeah, that's true. And the ideology would and largely end up serving the leaders of the Ba'ath party rather than the other way around. For his part, Saddam later said that he became a nationalist and not a communist because social divisions where he grew up were not that significant. Quote, "I never felt at a social disadvantage, even I, a peasant's son." Now, the Ba'ath party are going to turn big time on General Qasim. But in these heady days of July 1958, they're still basically on the same side, kicking out the hated British puppet regime.
Support helicopter has arrived.
So while Saddam was cutting his teeth in this new revolutionary political situation by joining the Ba'ath Party, the man who would one day flatter the Bush administration into war with Iraq in 2003 was having a very different experience of the revolution. Ahmed Chalabi was born in Baghdad in 1944, and he grew up about as far from Saddam's circumstances as you could probably get. He was the ninth and final child of an incredibly prominent, wealthy Shia business family, and his father had connections with the British and the monarchy and Shia leaders all throughout Iraq. Chalabi was 14 when the revolution broke out in Iraq, and his biographer, Aram Roston, writes that at this time, Chalabi was pampered, happy, and studious. And he never saw the squalor and misery that his fellow Iraqis were living in that we described. Roston writes, from his childhood perspective, waist-high to the wealthy and well-educated, this Iraq was an eclectic and tolerant place. So for young Chalabi watching it all come crashing down with this revolution, it sparked his lifelong obsession, not only to restore this fictional Iraq memories, but to be the one in charge of it. A relative told Chalabi if you're looking for Roosevelt, Citizen Kane, look to the 1958 revolution. As much as they wanted, Chalabi and his family did not get the American invasion. He'd spend the rest of his days gaining altitude. So, by the end of the 50s, we've seen Iraq go from being a British possession to becoming an independent state under the nationalist military regime of General Qasim. Unfortunately for Qasim, he didn't really end up pleasing anybody during his short...
Subject on board. Leave the rest to us.
Extraction arrived at Mother Base. Development project has been added. Staff assigned. Please specify a project. Please specify a project. Please specify a project. Please select a landing zone. Mission not accepted. Please select a landing zone. Please select a landing zone. Heading to Mother Base.